Hey, what's up, everybody? We're going to be talking diabetes today. I know that it's supposed to be Tuesdays at 2, but I wanted to go as early as I possibly can. I'm going to be going deer hunting with my little boy, Amos, tonight. We got some snow on the ground, got some ice last night, so we're hoping to get us a monster. My five-year-old boy has yet to be able to sit with me in the deer stand where we get something, so looking forward to that. So that's why we're going just a little bit early. And I'm going to keep this short and simple. We're going to talk about why drugs don't help diabetic patients' hearts. We're going to talk about why doctors are continuing to treat people in this manner, yet the evidence and most highly just qualified studies actually show that the drugs they're giving people don't help them at all and actually can cause harm. So we're going to go through this article, short and simple, why drugs don't help diabetic patients' hearts. If you TWD in the comments, you get the link to this article. And then from there, you can go and find the peer-reviewed research studies, New England Journal of Medicine, Accord trials, things like that. You can read the evidence for yourself. But it's a very simple article. I'm almost saying, hey, grab this article really quick, share it with a friend, a loved one who is suffering with diabetes, and show them why they need to get on my live show next week. Tuesday at 6 p.m., the 19th here of November. We're going to be talking about diabetes in more detail, kind of giving some people ways in which they can begin to improve their own life and reverse their own diabetes. It can be done, and somebody already, Marie Shriver already mentioned here berberine. Berberine would be an extract, but even before that, instead of going into an extract isolated compound, I would highly recommend using golden seal or even Oregon grape. Oregon grape is a phenomenal digestive bitter. These are herbs that the Wellness Way, myself included, carry in our offices, and you can get as long as you set up an account with us. And if you so wish to acquire Wellness Way herbs, I'm telling you right now, the highest potency. These things are either wild, so then better than organic, such as our golden seal is a wild harvested, sustainably wild harvested. Trust me on that. I even grow golden seal in my backwoods. So we can literally grow our own medicines. That's the beauty of what God's provided for us. He's provided the things and medicines we would need, and they're not really medicines, they're just leaves, plants. Let fruit be for food and leaves be for medicine. Take that and apply it to your life, and trust me, you'll be a lot healthier if you did. So I'm going to switch over here to my Word document where I read the article and I can go through all my highlights. American College of Cardiology researchers, they presented 3 major studies evaluating thousands, tens of thousands of patients and what happened to them when they treated heart conditions, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. High cholesterol is not a heart problem. Actually, it's the response to the inflammation in your body that is causing the damage to your arterial walls or to your soft tissue, and it needs to be there. So do never, ever, 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 ever lower your cholesterol. I'm going to say it again. Never, ever, 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 ever lower your cholesterol. If you do, you are killing yourself. And if your doctor advises you to do that, they don't understand physiology. Cholesterol goes up in response to damage. It's not what causes the damage. All right? So let's just make sure that we clarify that. And hence why these darn doctors who assumed, yes, here we have it, by using medications to treat these factors, which are linked, okay, something can be linked to, but doesn't mean it causes. All right? Linked to higher risk of heart attack, stroke, and other patients. Doctors assumed, and you know what you do when you get to assuming things, you make a, 3-letter word out of you and me, but I'm sorry, they won't make it out of me, because guess what? I understand the way the body works. That's the chiropractic philosophy is understanding, and the Wellness Way philosophy is, let's think about why your body is doing this. Why is your cholesterol higher? Why is your blood pressure higher? Let's figure out the causative factors. Let's not just medicate you into a weaker heart with a beta blocker or calcium channel blocker. Let's not just dilate your arteries and hope for the best. No, let's try and figure out why you're actually suffering with these problems. See, these assuming doctors, these, So I literally I'm gonna poke fun, and just let me do it. Okay, I'm gonna poke fun at these doctors who they assume that medicating numbers on a lab test gets you healthy. That's what they assume. And they don't actually pay attention in physiology class, I guess. Because cholesterol goes up as a response. Blood pressure goes up in response to stressors or calcified arteries, and just lowering your blood pressure doesn't actually extend your life either. That's why beta blockers. I didn't bring this article up, but I'll bring it up in the talk next Tuesday, 6 p.m., all right? It will be on Facebook Live as well as in person if you'd like to attend, all right? So, now, in the aftermath of the reports concluding that the targets of lowering their blood pressure, lowering their cholesterol, lowering their triglycerides, do not cut the risk of heart disease in diabetic patients, and in some cases actually did harm, meaning some of these diabetics died sooner because they were medically treated with drugs, because they weren't correcting the cause of the problem. If you lower your cholesterol, if you lower your blood pressure, the stress that is causing the elevated cholesterol blood pressure issue is still present in your body, and that stressor will just tax another system of your body, thus causing you to die sooner. And now your system is even further taxed by a medication that's forcing a physiological effect on you, weakening your heart or causing you the inability to be able to dilate or constrict your blood vessels the way they need to, so that your body can adapt to natural stressors in life, and so doing, you literally die sooner. So, or causing kidney and liver failure and different things like that, or causing brain atrophy, you know, all these things that are known to be caused by cholesterol meds. So, the action control cardiovascular risk, the ACCORD trial, looking again at thousands of patients, the blood sugar arm of the study was terminated because they terminated people with drugs. Yeah, that's exactly what they did. But when people who drastically reduced their glucose levels ended up having a higher overall mortality rate than those not receiving such intensive therapy. So the more they drugged you, the better your numbers looked, the better they looked, the faster you died. Congratulations, this is the medical model, folks. And I just love to point it out because it just makes the Wellness Way and our doctors look so much better, because we actually get results by getting people healthy. What would you like to do? Get drugged the rest of your life into an early grave while your lab work looks great? Or would you rather actually identify the underlying factors that are causing your condition, alter and change your lifestyle, use God's medicines and herbs and things like that in chiropractic care to remove the physical stress upon your nervous system, whatever it may be the causative factor in your case? By addressing those things, we can actually get you healthy. And once you're healthy, you save time, you live longer, you have more energy, your quality of life is vastly improved. You don't need to keep going to all of these medical physicians upon medical physicians and having your legs amputated and your toes amputated and your fingers amputated, and infectious illnesses and all this stuff happen because you're being drugged into oblivion, all right? But lower blood pressure did not lead to fewer heart attack or heart-related deaths, and patients taking more drugs to keep their blood pressure under a lower target were more likely to suffer severe side effects. So no benefit, and you suffered some serious side effects like impotency, and which is kind of ironic because having sex would actually be somewhat of a workout for many people. And guess what? Exercise is good for you, and it's really good stress reliever. So it would have lots of physiological beneficial effects. But meanwhile, you can't do that because your statin medication doesn't allow you to do that because anyways. So, statins, triglyceride lowering, fibrate medications. There was no difference in heart attack or stroke rates between the groups. But again, this is a long time after these medications had been used. And mind you, this article, these studies, okay, this was published back in 2010, and still doctors keep doing the same thing. New England Journal of Medicine, one of the most prestigious medical journals out there, also publishing more data. They said neither study showed any of these treatments to be reducing the risk of heart disease. All right. I tend, okay, this is, who is speaking here? This is, I believe, Dr. Daniel Einhorn. Einhorn, Finkel, Finkel, and Einhorn, Finkel, and Einhorn, Einhorn, Finkel, Finkel's, Einhorn. All right, who knows the movie? Come on. Finkel and Einhorn? Ashley, do you know what I'm talking about? Taylor, do you know what I'm talking about? Somebody, please. Because I gotta. Just kidding. All right. Finkel and Einhorn. Finkel. Ace Ventura.
Instagram.
Yes, come on. Did somebody post it?
Yeah.
Yes, Finkel and Einhorn. Finkel and Einhorn. Finkel and Einhorn. Love it. All right. So Dr. Einhorn is actually Finkel. Laces out. Dan. Okay, sorry. Medical director of the Scripps Whittier Diabetes Institute, who is a co-author of the New England Journal of Medicine studies, he says, I tend to be far more tuned into getting normal targets, medicating my younger patients more so that they die earlier, it seems. Without question, now I am more conservative in my treatment of older, sicker patients because they don't benefit, and these studies just confirm that. So he tends to be like, well, I'll just medicate you less so that hopefully you don't suffer as many side effects, but I am getting paid to drug you and not actually reverse your condition. It's funny that these people, like, these scientists aren't using the available research that literally shows herbs like golden seal is more effective than metformin with less side effects. But I'm telling you right now, don't just run out there and grab. Like, I could be like, hey, Wellness Way, we got, my office, I've got golden seal. I could be like, here, more effective and safer than metformin. But I don't want you to just go out and take golden seal and just take that herb, but yet your diet, your lifestyle, pressure on your brainstem because your spine and neck have lost the curvature, you have misalignments, your atlas vertebra, these causative factors that cause stress on your body. If it's, in essence, bitter herbs are amazing for our health, okay? Dandelions and things like that. So herbs can be very, very beneficial, but the reality is this. An herb as well used to treat a symptom, which the symptom is dysregulation of your blood sugar, which is caused by something deeper, all right? On the surface, the sign of disease and dysfunction in your body is the elevated blood sugar, the elevated A1C, fasting glucose, whatever it may be, elevated cholesterol. All these things are responses to stress or long-term stress you've placed your body under. If you don't remove those stressors, you're still gonna die early. One could say, I'm glad that God made herbs to help us in a crisis situation when we let our health go too far in the wrong direction. Thank God that his herbs are better than drugs and pharmaceuticals and money-hungry doctors who don't actually treat the condition that causes the problem. And yes, I know I show a lot of frustration, but the reality is, I'll tell you, I watched my grandfather go to the Cleveland Clinic, one of what was called or is called one of the most prestigious cardiovascular clinics in all of the U.S., considered one of the best in the world. And I watched my grandfather go there. Seemed like every couple weeks, back and forth, multiple open heart surgeries. One of the burned into my brain memories was the fact that I came in and my grandfather's laying in bed and he's got this yellow streak and bruise all the way down his leg where they took out one of his veins to do bypass surgery. Now, am I saying bypass surgery isn't an amazing medical procedure that could save somebody's life in a critical situation? I think it's amazing that they can do that and save, a person's life. A skilled surgeon is an amazing person that could save somebody's life. The problem is Cleveland Clinic never addressed what was causing my grandfather's diabetes. They just kept putting him on more drugs and more drugs. They'd give him these little boxes, these little pill box kind of things. And there was Monday in the morning, Monday at noon, Monday in the evening, and then there was Tuesday morning, noon, and night. And it just went, and it was just more drugs, more drugs, more drugs. And yet they had already done the studies that showed they could reverse diabetes, reverse heart disease. And yet they never coached my grandfather on how to do that. And my grandfather ended up dying in the hospital due to a drug-related response. What was amazing to me was when my grandfather was in the hospital while I was away at chiropractic school. They literally called me up and they're saying, we think he's going to pass away, so the doctors have just decided they're going to take him off the medications and just let him pass, because it doesn't look like he's doing well. They take him off all his medications. He recovers from his infection, gets well, and then as he's leaving the hospital, here's all your drugs again. So after they said, he's going to die, let's go ahead and take him off the drugs. And so they did, and it was actually the drugs that were killing him in the first place. But what did they do? Oh, start taking your drugs again. What happened? His health turned right back around in the wrong direction because of the drugs, and this is what the studies show. The study was pretty much going on while my grandfather was being treated improperly with these types of drugs. I have no respect for physicians who don't study and understand physiology. Drugs do not cure disease. Drugs manipulate your physiology into submitting to changing a number on a blood test. Robbing the person of their finances, their quality of life, their sexual capabilities, their eyesight sometimes, their cognitive capabilities. The list would go on, but people just keep getting drugged more and more as the side effects of the drugs they are on that are worthless to them continue to be prescribed. Somebody's got to speak the truth and tell people. And I know sometimes it isn't fun to hear it. TW in the comments if you want this article, and you can go and you can help your friend or family member not end up like my grandfather. So, but the primary lesson that clinicians can take away from the new findings that they're drugging people and not helping them at all, well, that's not actually in the text here. I'll read it as it's actually stated. The primary lesson that clinicians can take away from the new findings is that the blind push to lower all risk factors such as blood pressure and cholesterol isn't necessarily healthy. Really? Medicating responses that are healthy for you. High cholesterol is healthy for you if you're living a horrible lifestyle. If you have increased inflammation. High cholesterol is a good thing if you're driving up inflammation in your system. Because cholesterol is the repair guys. They're the repair guys and the cleanup crew. They're the ones that come in and put spackle on the damaged arterial walls. Yeah, that's called the plaque. But it's good for you to heal and keep your artery from bursting. Hence, why is a side effect of cholesterol medications hemorrhagic stroke, where your artery literally bursts open and you bleed out in your brain. It's the most deadly type of stroke you could possibly have. And that's a side effect. Oh, and another one is heart failure. Heart failure from a drug that doctors convince people to think that is protective for heart disease. Causes heart failure. Wow, this is brilliant. It's just sad. It's so sad that people have been literally brainwashed into believing that the medical community is scientific. They scientifically understand how to manipulate your body, your blood chemistry into submission so that your lab lab work looks good so that you go about your day continuing on with your lifestyle that caused you to get in the hospital in the first place, or the doctor's office, where they did a surgery on you and then they medicated you and then they medicate you more for the side effects of those drugs, meanwhile leaving all the factors that caused the condition to arise in the first place. They leave it all alone, all the stressors that are on your body that cause those problems in the first place continue on. You get sicker and sicker, they make more money and more money, and you die earlier and earlier. Does anybody else? Raise your hand if you respect that system. No, I don't. I'm not with you. All right. Clinicians take away. It's not healthy. Dr. Christopher Sedek, director of the Diabetes Center at Johns Hopkins University, said, medicating these things, the lessons clinicians should take away that what we're doing isn't healthy for patients. Good job. Good job. You should have spoke a little bit louder, because the people in the back, still at medical schools, doctors are coming out, medicating their patients. I mean, I've literally sat down with patients dealing with diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Sat down with them, explained to them how high cholesterol is actually beneficial for them, walked them through their story, or had them tell their story to me, and I say, so the first one you were on was cholesterol medications. Did you know that the side effect of a cholesterol medication can actually be more scarring and damage to your arteries and hardening our arteries, and then eventually even diabetes is a side effect? That's why even women were able to sue the maker of Lipitor, Merck, for lying about the safety and efficacy and the side effects of their medication, Lipitor, and you could actually sue them and if you develop diabetes while taking that drug. So the drug caused the other two problems, and I said, why don't we just start working on the risk factors and do the proper testing to look at your CRP, your inflammatory markers, homocysteine, your vitamin B levels, your essential fatty acid levels. Let's look at all those things. And then let's actually evaluate the size and density of your cholesterol levels. And let's see if you're at critical state and how fast we need to work and how hard we need to work, whether we need to use and supercharge your system with herbs, or whether we can do this with just dietary measures. Let's figure out how hard we need to work at this first. And literally, I've watched people get off their cholesterol medications just when I hand them the best peer-reviewed literature out there. And they say, so basically scientists understand this is not good for me? Yeah. The only stuff that says it's good for you is the ones that's bought and paid for by the drug company who's selling the drug to you. That's the only studies that show that cholesterol is bad. It's not bad because it's produced by your body. So people get off these things and their blood pressure goes normal and their diabetes goes away. And literally, they didn't really change a whole lot of their lifestyle. They just got off of their poisons. I about called it drugs. You need to call it what it is, right? Oh, I love this. So they say, that may even mean resisting common sense urge. Common sense urge. You know, getting your patients off drugs that killed people, that caused them to die sooner. You've got to resist the common sense urge to reduce these measures or drug people, that's what he's saying. You've got to no, common sense would say no one's disease process is caused by the lack of a drug in their bloodstream, period. That's common sense. Doctors don't have any common sense. He's literally saying, you've got to resist. The scientific evidence shows our drugs are killing people and they don't work for diabetics and diabetic patients. So you've got to resist that common sense urge to medicate them into submission of their blood pressure and cholesterol. So resist that common sense urge to put a synthetic chemical into their bloodstream that was never supposed to be there in the first place. Resist that common sense urge. Wow. Who's lacking common sense here? Seriously. Anyways, I found that hilarious, at least in my perspective. I don't know. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else laughing at that? Or just me? Just me. Okay. Just me. Here's some people tagging some other people, tagging friends. Awesome. Oh my good. Oh my good. I know all about blood test. Marie Shiver. Okay, thank you for sharing. Nina says, good afternoon, Dale. Thanks for all that you do. I wish you could be my family's chiropractor. I would love to. If you need consulting, we can do that online, 931-591-2010 if you want me to work with you. What about PCOS, Jamie said. Sorry, I didn't see your question till now. PCOS, that can be insulin sensitivity problems. That can be blood sugar regulation problems. It can be hormonal problems. That could be even just simply a pelvic misalignment, parasympathetic, sympathetic control of that region of your body. So ultimately, I've worked with lots of women with PCOS and even endometriosis and infertility problems. And voila, as we properly test, properly treat, people get the properly health. They get healthy. I love it. What do you do as far as high fasting insulin? PCOS also suspected. Laura, okay? You got to figure out what are the stressors. What are the stressors? Sometimes you have high insulin levels because you have inflammation. High inflammation, immunologically speaking, can be a driver there. So inflammation from the immune system could be a factor. Not all the way into type 1 like a type 1 diabetic, an autoimmune condition, but you could have an underlying infection that is causing inflammation that is leading to insulin resistance or insulin sensitivity problems, ultimately leading to PCOS and other things. This all goes back to inflammation. But you don't just medicate a person. You don't even just herbalize a person. You treat them according to what their system and body needs, and everybody's different. So it takes proper testing to figure out what are those factors that cause that in that individual. So, I mean, again, I have worked with a lot of women over the years, PCOS and other things. Upper cervical specific adjustments help phenomenally with, and posture correction actually works really, really well for gestational diabetes and individuals with PCOS and endometriosis and things like that. Is Dutch only test to figure it out? No, the Dutch is not. Oftentimes the Dutch isn't always the one I go with PCOS. So I oftentimes do a metabolic panel to look at what's going on there. And I would say Dutch is going to tell you, so I want to talk about that. Dutch is a phenomenal test to look at hormonal levels and look at where your body is. You can get some B vitamin deficiency issues identified there, but the reality is all of that is still downstream from things like your immune system, your nervous system. So tests before that are hugely foundational are like stool. We use Genova. It gives us indicators for leaky gut. It gives us indicators for your detoxification pathways, your liver pathways, your IgA immune responses. It gives you bacterial cultures to see where your microflora is, what your bacterial balance is, ratios are, things like that. But that is a huge part of your immune system. Like, you've got to get gut health right and your nervous system right. Those are two of the biggest foundational pieces to everyone's puzzle. From there, really you can go into Dutch later, or you can do a Dutch test to evaluate where you are, if you need to get out of a crisis situation, if you need improvement. We can then use herbs to help your body regulate or process or eliminate or convert hormones appropriately. So you can use herbs to help in certain pathways of hormonal regulation. You help the person get well, you help them feel better, their quality of life goes up, they have more energy, they're able to thrive and actually go out and exercise and work out, and they have more energy, they have less chronic fatigue. So then they say, you know what, okay, now I can actually go shopping like I need to and stop ordering out every day because I have no energy to be able to cook for myself or my family. You know, so there's a couple different approaches I take, and I take a different approach. I have some, you know, what I tell people is I have my desire for each one of my patients. I say I love to lay the foundations first, and if we got those foundations in order, a lot of times their health just starts taking off in the right direction so well that sometimes we don't need additional testing. Now, if we want to look into hormonal testing and things like that down the road, if we can't get everything all in alignment and their body's functioning properly, then we can go into those other downstream testing. So Or if we want to monitor where we're at, and where we need to get, absolutely, we can look into things like that. My mom is on Lipitor. Total cholesterol is 109. That is horrible, 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 horrible. Lori, your mom is going to die, like literally going to die early. So do cholesterol drugs do any good? A Business Week article, do cholesterol drugs do any good? All right. Took all available data, published and unpublished, and found that the published data published by the drug companies were lies. We're literally killing people. So I will do more stuff on cholesterol itself, but that level of cholesterol is extremely low and it actually increased the risk for women. Had zero benefit and actually increased the mortality rate in women especially. So the lower their cholesterol was. Missy says, most doctors have a diabetes protocol that they follow without regard for the individual patient. Exactly, they don't treat patients, they treat numbers and diagnoses. So no thought and care for the individual. Laura, infection you mean parasites? Possibly parasites, yes. So GI map, a good test. Been seeing a chiro for a year now. GI map's okay. I totally love Genova far more. You get more indicators through Genova. But this is a test that we run, and you can get that if you want. You can call our office 931-591-2010. You can message us through thewilddoc.com and schedule a consultation, and you get testing and that type of thing through us. Rebecca, for PCOS and blood sugar issues, what diet do you recommend? Low carb? Eat healthy foods. Like literally I tell people like just eat healthy foods. A low carb diet is typically going to be beneficial as long as you're not eating a non-organically grown, a unhealthy animal products, byproducts, processed foods. You could eat a lot of stuff that is not healthy that could be actually extremely harmful to your liver and other systems of your body that is quote unquote categorized as low carb. So you got to be careful of that. That is a general term. So if you're thinking fruits and vegetables, and fruits don't cause diabetes, fruits are not harmful for diabetics because they're not what causes the problem, okay? So you got to just take care of the causes of the problem. So my mom is on Lipitor, son, 6 weeks, already answered that one. Can you post your number here, please? Thank you. Already did. Okay, cool. Ashley took care of that. Rebecca, any autoimmune pancreas info you can share taking protomorphogens to help this, but curious what might be the root of it since it is more common. It's very much more common. This is one I'm kind of saving, gathering up a little bit more research and articles and references to be able to bring you. I did speak about that last week, I believe it was, talking about the extreme elevated rates, rising rates of type 1 and type 2 diabetes, and we'll be talking about that in the near future. More into that later. So, one on Instagram, okay.
Do you do mold exposure illness?
Yes. Mold exposure illness, yes, we can help with that. Yep. Improving your mucosal membrane immunity is absolutely critical. Biblically speaking, it is exactly what God said. You have just got to get rid of the source of mold. You have to. You got to move out. You got to get away from it because it can literally destroy your health. There's no easy way to say it than that's the best case scenario. I understand that some people just can't move. They can't leave their home. That is the only place they have to stay and live, and they don't have the finances to get out of that situation. But if that's the case, then we're going to have to substantially improve your body's capability of detoxifying liver function. But first of all, you've got to get your barrier built up. Your gut is so important in that situation. So again, I would highly recommend stool sampling first to figure out what your gut is doing and how we need to support it so that if your barrier is strong, then those mold spores aren't going to negatively affect you as much. They're still going to negatively affect you, and they themselves can definitely destroy your gut as well. So it's a catch-22 if you've got to live in that environment, but we can definitely help.
I am living in a trailer in my backyard.
That's tough. Tough situation. If that's the only place you can live, then, oh, she's probably out of her house now.
Oh, maybe that.
Sometimes if people are living in their backyard out in a trailer. Sometimes they move into a trailer home type of thing, like a camper. I've heard of people doing that, and some people, while their house is being remediated and removing mold, yes, that's oftentimes what you've got to do.
Yes,
So,
correct.
yep. Given that, given that such aggressive drug treatments, this is the last kind of statement here of the article. Given such aggressive drug treatments, or money-making treatments, or corrupt treatments, however you want to say it, but aggressive drug treatments does not seem to afford significant benefits. None at all. Actually, more people were dead, so didn't afford any benefit. I just love how they didn't afford significant benefits. It didn't afford any benefits. None. More people dead in the drug treatment groups. They didn't afford benefits. Diabetics on a whole. Sudek and his colleagues anticipate that going forward, physicians and patients will increasingly reintroduce the importance of lifestyle changes, such as improving diet and getting more physically active, for slowing the progression of diabetes and reducing the risk of heart disease. These are therapies that are, after all, proven to work. So why didn't you use them in the first place? They're cheap, inexpensive, and the best thing you can do for your patients. Why didn't you do that in the first place? But I'm saddened by the fact that they've forced slowing the progression of diabetes. Well, if you're just going to use nutrition, let's take an example. All right. I used this example last week. I used Walter. He is just the best case that I've ever come across, and just uniqueness of his story was a car accident, whiplash, diabetes and high blood pressure, comes into my office. I do nothing more, evaluate his spine, adjust him, and within literally a couple weeks, he's off his blood pressure and his diabetic, his metformin. So he's off those medications. 2 weeks. All right. Why? Because we corrected the structural stress on his nervous system that was inducing a stress response. That in that neurological stress response, cortisol goes up, stress hormones go up. The body actually responds by pumping out more insulin and more glucose and sugar into the bloodstream, so you can run as far and as fast as you need to be able to survive a tiger attack. He's not under a tiger attack, but his body's interpreting that physical stress on his nervous system as if that's what's happening to him, thus keeping him in that chronic stress state leads to diabetes, leads to more inflammation. So correcting that, if that is the cause of this person, all right, there can be multiple people. Each one of them has a different story. Each one of them has a different cause of their diabetes. You've got to figure out the cause for each individual. Him, you got to correct it. Exercise, diet, and lifestyle is going to help him, but it's not going to correct the cause if the majority of the stress on his system is neurological. If the next person is an underlying infection, having overgrowth of certain bacteria, or even having certain overgrowth of yeast, things like that can literally cause fermentation to the point where a person develops fatty liver disease and insulin sensitivity problems, and then diabetes as a result of a gut infection. You've got to get rid of the gut infection with that individual so their liver can heal, they can get out of that state and be able to actually metabolize glucose and triglycerides appropriately. So in that case, that individual, the gut, the digestive tract is the underlying factor there. So it all comes down to an individual basis. So, but yeah. All right, so that is it. That article right there. If you TWD in the comments, you get it. Also, what are the people supposed to do to be able to get alerts to when I go live?
They can text TWD to the number on the screen.
Text TWD, the number on your screen. Here in a second, you'll see the screen. And what you'll see there is the number that you can text. You can text us, and then we can text you, because right now I'm getting censored by Facebook, and I can't put out alerts through Facebook to be able to alert you that I'm going live and giving you helpful information and health not recommendations, but health information to help you stay healthier. All right, everybody, love you, appreciate you. I'm headed home to my little boy, Amos. Share the truth. I just like it. It's the only way we save lives. I don't know if I'm still alive.